countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it is now time for more of the last comic shop!
That's right. We are opening the shop up to newbies to help them find their way underneath this giant comic book tent of ours.
Oh, this is where Chad usually talks, and letting old people feel okay about still being into this stuff. We should have moved on to real live girls and stuff by this time.
Wow.
It's a lot like video games. You're never too old for this stuff.
That is true. You are never too old for video games. You're never too old for toys or comic books or any of the stuff we talk about. Please. We've crossed that bridge a long time ago. I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson. I'm glad you've crossed that bridge with us as well. I'm joined by our regular co-host, Jay Scott, and as you heard, Chad's missing. So we're joined by two of our wonderful guest hosts that have been on a bevy of episodes, especially recently. In 2023, they're like pinch hitting like all the time. We've got Mikey Wood. And we've got my brother, Ethan Larson. So this is crazy. It's like the Wonder Twins.
Somebody told Chad what we're reading today, and he couldn't have run fast enough away from this episode.
He didn't say he didn't like this.
He didn't. He said he doesn't know why I enjoy it as much as I do.
which from Chad is the lowest compliment you could possibly
Yes. That's true, but you know, everybody
sideburn.
Some things just we'll get into it, but it hit at the right time. We'll get into all that.
But we are giving Chad the week off because we are reviewing Green Arrow: The Longbow Hunters. It was a 3-issue miniseries that kicked off a huge run of Green Arrow in the late 80s, early 90s. How many issues did it actually run, Mikey?
I know that Grell was on it for like 80, I think, or something like that, or something like that. But the series went way longer. But I didn't collect it past Mike Grell's because it's not really my thing anymore. Yeah.
Now, the mini series was prestige format, a little bit more adult themed. Was the main series as well?
Yes, the main series was Baxter paper, and it said suggested for mature audiences on the covers, and it was a more like mature and adult take on the character, just like the mini series was.
It's a mature book, and the guy dresses like Errol Flynn.
Yeah. Well, he does. Well, you get to see that contrast between how the bad guys describe him and how the people who he saves describe him.
That's true.
The bad guys describe him as the CW Arrow, and then he actually
the old lady's like, he was that nice guy from the Remfest.
Yeah, he served me mead.
Yeah,
in any case, on today's program, because we're talking about a series that was released in the late 80s, early 90s, we thought that it was a great opportunity to have another one of our quiz games. Yay!
Oh, hell.
Yes.
Come on.
And we do like quiz games once in a while here on the Last Comic Shop, and there's an opportunity for somebody other than Chad to win this week's one because, again, Chad's on vacation. So this is a great opportunity for us to talk about 80s action heroes, right, J.A.? I mean, you're the quiz master. Is that what you came up with?
Yes, we're doing 80s action. So not just heroes, action movies, action TV, everything 80s action. Each round is 8 questions, 1 multiple choice question, and 1 question that has a bonus component.
Whoa.
So you can get an extra bonus point. Actually, extra 2 bonus points. So top score, if you get them all right, is 10.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
All right. So have you decided who gets to go first, J.A.?
We in this.
Why don't you flip a coin between the 3 of you? You need a tri-sided die.
We will flip a coin between our 2 guest hosts. And they will get the choice as to who gets to go first.
Is it age before beauty? Because I'm an old man.
I'm no spring chicken myself, sir. I never call tails because of that stupid thing. The tails never fail, so I'm always like, heads, damn it.
Okay, so Ethan's calling heads. Calling heads. Here we go. It is heads. Do you want to go
Nicely
first or
done, sir.
Yes, I'll actually defer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mikey is
because I don't know what I'm getting into
first.
Oh, God.
Question 1, Mikey. In the Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell movie Tango and Cash, which one is Tango?
That I believe Tango is Kurt Russell.
You are incorrect. Tango is Sylvester Stallone.
Believe it. You know what?
50-50.
I've never seen that. I've never seen
Jack
Tango.
Palance is in that movie, right?
Was that one of our mother's favorite movies, or is that
No, that was
Bird
Stop
on a Wire?
My Mother Will Shoot.
I thought it was Bird on a Wire. She loved.
Oh, she liked Bird on a Wire. That was another good.
Yeah.
I can't believe I've never seen it, but it's true. I never have.
Question number 2. What 1980s TV show follows the exploits of Stringfellow Hawk and Dominic Santini?
Ooh, that's Airwolf.
That is correct,
I was
sir.
gonna say.
Yes.
J.A. used to religiously sing that theme song.
Yeah, man. Everybody, what's
Oh,
funny?
wow.
Like everybody thinks Airwolf was on for like 16 years. I think it was on for like 2 seasons.
Less than 2. It like canceled midway or something.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Question number 3. What is the make and model of Magnum PI's car?
Oh, Jesus. I believe it's a Ferrari, but I don't know what the model is. GG something. I don't know.
A Ferrari 308.
308. Okay.
Come on, give him half a point.
I will give you half a point for that.
Okay.
There you go.
Nice card.
Question number 4. In the movie Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze's character had a PhD in which discipline? Literature, philosophy, art history, or dancing?
I believe it was philosophy.
You are correct, sir.
Yes. Roadhouse.
It's
Yeah.
my way or the highway.
Don't mess with Mikey's Roadhouse. That's
Right. Right.
You're my new Saturday night thing.
Question number 5. What city is RoboCop set in?
Old Detroit.
Yes.
Specifically Old Detroit.
Do you remember the RoboCop video game that they had for the arcades? That was a great game.
Yes. And RoboCop vs. Terminator was an awesome video game.
That was a good one, too.
Question number 6. Martin Riggs from Lethal Weapon was a former member of which military outfit?
Oh, man. No, was he special forces?
Which special forces?
Oh, I think it was Army Special Forces. I think. I don't know.
I'm going to need a little bit more than that, sir.
Was he a commando? Like a?
He wasn't commander.
He was not.
That was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
He was a Green Beret. So we're going to say that's a... Question number 7. Michael Douglas and Andy Garcia teamed up to take on the Yakuza in this 1980s film.
Black Rain, and it's awesome. I love that movie, man.
Yeah.
He was so definitive with that. He's like, Black
There's
Ram,
no
man.
doubt.
I own it
was
on
great.
VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray.
That's right.
All right. And question number 8, and this has a bonus.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
From what year is the Terminator sent back from in the original Terminator film?
Oh, that's so horrible. Isn't it like 2023 or something? I can't remember. No.
It is 2029.
Okay, I knew it was
And now-
2020 something.
Here is the bonus.
Okay.
What year does Judgment Day occur?
1997.
Correct.
Okay.
Nice.
I wrote a
Cool.
Planet of the Apes Terminator crossover comic that I never saw. I should have known this. I did. I swear. It's
No,
called
it
Judgment.
sounds cool.
It's called Judgment Day on the Planet of the Apes. But anyway,
Sure. Who wins? The apes?
the apes. Yeah, they kind of do. Sort of. Okay.
They
If you
usually
didn't have the apes win, I'd be furious.
Sort of. They sort of do.
Okay.
All right. So, Mikey, you got 6.5.
Okay. Not so bad.
I think it's gonna kill my score. So
Now, Ethan, do you want to go next or do you want to go last?
I'll go second now that I know what I'm getting myself into.
Question number 1 for Ethan. What is the name of the villain in the movie Highlander?
Guy with the sword. I am not wrong.
Yeah.
It's the
That's quite-
Kurgan.
The Kurgan.
The Kurgan.
Question number 2. The Running Man is based on the book by which author? Michael Crichton, Stephen King, Philip K. Dick, or William Gibson?
Philip K. Dick. No, Gibson.
Stephen King.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
Richard Bachman. But
Oh yeah,
it was a
yeah,
Bachman
yeah.
book. Yeah,
Like a Bachman
it was a
Turner
Bachman
Overdrive.
book, yeah.
that's right. I know all of these. God damn it.
Question number 3. What do the teenagers in Red Dawn call themselves?
Mikey's killing himself over there. I should have went first. I knew who Tango was. No, I've never seen this movie. Sorry.
Oh. Wolverines.
Oh, shit. Come on.
It was the name of their football team. Their high school.
Yeah.
The Wolverines. Wow.
Right.
Oh,
This one you should get. If you don't get this, then
Yeah,
One,
but
two,
I'm just
three,
quitting.
okay.
I'm quitting the podcast.
Yeah. So, what city is the movie Bloodsport set in?
I wish this was about sudden death. Because I would know what city that's based in.
Yeah.
The Civic Arena.
Yeah.
No, Bloodsport is the one about the Kumite.
Oh yeah. No, I passed the first. I'm taking a 0 on this.
It's set in Hong Kong.
Oh,
Ah.
I don't remember that much about that one.
Question number 5. According to Dirty Harry, what is the most powerful handgun in the world?
Oh, a Magnum.
Yes, you are correct, sir.
There we go. The one on the board, baby.
7
Two,
Magnum.
I want Stephen King. I want Wolverines back. I want all this stuff. Like this, I'm just drawing a blank, and it doesn't help that Mikey's going like this in the back.
I'm
like,
sorry.
This.
I'll hide off screen next.
No, you're fine.
This
You're
is going to
fine.
be the hardest question in this round.
Which means
Question
I'm
number
losing, so.
6. What organization does MacGyver work for?
I say it's like an acronym, like microwave.
Paperclip.
That's close. The Phoenix Foundation.
Oh.
I have never seen a single episode of MacGyver.
Really? That
Not
was
a-
another one of
not a
Jake's
one.
favorites.
Was that another one that was also on for only 2 seasons, but it has a cult
No, that ran a while.
No, it ran a while. It ran
ran for
7,
like
8 seasons.
or something.
Yeah.
People like the MacGyver.
Don't be talking smack on Dean Anderson.
I talk
Richard
about
Dean
stuff,
Anderson.
man.
You don't be talking smack.
It's just like it's just always like these cult shows. Like they only have usually it's only like 3 seasons or
Yeah,
something.
right.
Okay. All right. Question 7. What song opens Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom?
What song?
Oh, I know this.
The Goonie song. Good luck.
No, it's anything goes.
Anything goes.
It's anything goes.
Anything goes in Cantonese.
They're in the Obi-Wan Kenobi club.
Well, now
No, Club Obi-Wan. And final question that comes with a bonus. What is the name of the building in the first Die Hard movie?
Oh, the Nakajima complex. Something like close.
So
Come on, give him something.
Nakahama.
come on. Nakatomi.
Nakatomi. I knew it was Naka something. Come on.
Nakatomi Plaza.
Not going to get a point.
All right.
Yeah. Here's the bonus.
Okay.
In Nakatomi Tower, what floor is the party taking place on?
13th floor. Because everything bad happens on 13th.
Close. 30th.
30th, yeah.
Okay.
So, Ethan,
You see, walk, you
I got one. I
You
got one.
you got one. These
I was
are
born-
tough. Like
I was born too late too. That's my problem.
That is true.
It's the 90s action movies.
Yes.
You didn't give
I'm
him
your
any
Huckleberry.
Fast and Furious.
Yes,
He could
correct.
have just rattled off those.
Over this weekend, I gave Andrew the whole primer of the Fast and Furious, including that the first movie is about them stealing DVD players. Yes.
All right. I guess I'm up last.
You are last,
And I got to
Andrew?
be 6.5, right?
6.5, yes.
All right.
Question number 1. Which movie does this quote come from? Come with me if you want to live.
Oh, I know this. Is that Terminator?
It is Terminator.
Okay.
It is also Terminator 2.
Also
That's
Terminator 2.
what confused me, actually, because I know that actually more from Terminator 2, but I didn't want to. All right.
Question number 2. Which one of these is not an actual Chuck Norris movie? Blood Fist, The Octagon, Invasion USA, or Lone Wolf McQuade?
That blood one. I don't think Blood Fist is a.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah,
Blood Fist is
because
not.
Octagon definitely is, and
I thought
Invasion
Octagon.
USA is definitely is.
Invasion USA.
All right, I'm 2 for 2.
All right, you're 2 for 2. Question
Doing
number
good.
3. How many actors played James Bond in the 1980s?
3.
You are correct, sir.
That's right.
Nice.
See, that's a trick question because you don't think about Never Say Never Again.
Yes.
When Sean Connery came back with a bad hairpiece
That's right.
Yes, in the non-canon James Bond movie.
based on Thunderball.
It's dreadful.
So they could use the names, but they couldn't. But that's why it doesn't have the opening, because the opening was owned by the Broccoli family.
Right.
Cubby broccoli.
And for the longest time, I thought it was a TV movie because I only saw it on ABC like a bunch of times.
Well, it's shot like a TV movie. Like
It was.
bland.
There was like this
Like,
big
it's like-
giant video game halfway through it, and I
Yeah.
was just like, I want that. I am.
Question number 4. Tony Montana's little friend in Scarface is what?
An AK-47?
No, it is an M16 with grenade launcher.
Ethan, would you have got that?
I would have gotten that one, yeah.
All right, Ethan should have
Scarface
stole
is
that
my-
one. I'm going to give that point to Ethan.
Ethan
Scarface is my
steal it.
bag.
Question number 5. Name the 4 members of the A-Team.
Oh, that's easy. That's Face and B.A. Baracus and Murdoch and Hannibal.
That is correct. I was looking for full names. Can you do full names?
Oh, I can give the full names of the people that played them, like George Papard and Dirk Benedict and Mr. T and Dwight Schultz.
Yeah,
I
I'll
always
give you a full point.
I always get him confused with the guy from Wings, the brother.
Yeah, but there was also. I mean,
Steven
we get-
Weber, that's it.
Do we get bonus points if we know about Amy Adams and Tanya and Dishpan Man and all those guys? Okay, because they were in the team later on. But
Question number 6. What is the title of the final Dirty Harry movie?
Oh, that's the Deadpool.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah. Don't front on me with Dirty Harry movies. I like
Although,
that one a lot too.
isn't Tightrope basically a Dirty Harry movie?
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, it's not officially, but it's like just a Dirty Harry movie, but his character's name something
What
different.
about Gran Turismo when he's like, get off my lawn? Or,
That's also a Dirty Harry movie.
Okay. That's
They're all Dirty Harry movies eventually.
Question 7. Where does Rambo First Blood take place?
Oh, that's like in the West somewhere. Oh crap! It's like some sort of mining town.
I think it's Colorado.
It's somewhere out west. I can't think of the name. So
I don't know for sure.
It was an allegory. It took place in Hope, Washington.
Oh, Washington.
See,
Okay.
I knew it was on the West
But
Coast.
can you name the future action star of the early 2000s of television fame, or does he have to put on his sunglasses first?
Oh yeah, he's in First Blood. That's right.
Yeah,
David
David
Caruso.
Caruso.
Yeah.
To me, he's always from NYPD Blue.
Yeah,
That show was so good. Oh man. Okay.
All right, question 8.
Final question, with the chance of a bonus. What is the make and model of a kit from Knight Rider?
it's a car.
It's a Corvette, isn't it? It's a.
You are
No?
incorrect, sir.
It's a Knight Industries 2000.
Well, that was the bonus
It's
question.
a Trans Am. I think it's a Trans Am.
It's a Pontiac Trans Am.
Yeah, there we go. Look at you, Mikey. Now, Knight
Yes.
Rider wasn't on for very long, right?
I know that Motorcycle Knight Rider, Street Hawk, was only one season.
I know that Manimal was only half a season.
Knight
Four
Rider was
episodes.
actually 4 seasons, so they're not
Okay.
not as
Well,
long as
there
I
you
thought.
go.
But then they didn't have a.
Yeah, there was Knight Rider 2000, and then there was like Team Knight Rider. There was a bunch of like Knight Rider
It was on longer than
Spin-off.
Baywatch
Spin-off.
Nights. That's all we need.
Baywatch Nights.
Well, Mikey, you are the big winner of today's trivia challenge. Thanks so much to Jay Scott for being our wonderful host and coming up with all those great questions. Hopefully, you did better than all of us when you were sitting in your place listening to our podcast. We will be right back with Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters, right after this.
Hello, friends. Do you like the 80s and Transformers? We are the Autopod Decepticast, and we started our podcast doing a minute-by-minute breakdown of the 1986 classic animated feature Transformers the Movie. We've since moved on to an episode-by-episode review of the G1 series and just started Season 3. We have over 180 episodes, so if you're just discovering our show, there's plenty of gold to stuff into your ears, and it is very funny and fantastic. I'm not biased. We are on every podcast aggregator you could possibly stomach: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and our web presence is autopoddecepticast.com. We are at APodDcast on Twitter and all of the things. Autopod Decepticast, friends, for all your animated Transformer needs. Bye, bye, bye.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for our Read Pile Review, where we're taking aim at the Green Arrow Longbow Hunters 3-part miniseries. Yes, not the entire Green Arrow series that spawned out of this, but just the 3-issue arc that was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. And so they gave Mike Grell a continuing series after that. It's collected in a trade. It's very easy to get. It's still widely available. And if you're at your local comic book shop and you listen to today's show and you're like, yeah, I want to check this out, make sure you do, because it's, again, very easy to get. And it's kind of a nostalgic flashback to those great action movies of the 80s, at least in my opinion. Mikey, who else worked on Longbow Hunters with Mike Grell?
Well, Mike Grell, he wrote it and did the interior art. Julia Lacquemont, I think is pronounced, who I'm not familiar with. She did the coloring, but I'm not sure how that worked, to be honest with you, because Grell does a lot of like painted in a lot of scenes, and so I'm not sure how they colors.
Yeah, it was almost like a crosshatch or an etch, dreamlike watercolor.
Like if you look at the covers, you could actually see the canvas underneath the paint. Like if you look at because they were painted on canvases, so it was mixed media. There were some like colored pencil sketches done on like Canson paper and like white pencil. And
I'm gonna say, because it's a premier level product, they spent some more money on the print quality of it as opposed to your normal run-of-the-mill 4-color separation. I guess they were still doing that in the late 80s.
And the lettering was done by Ken Bruzenak, also known for his incredible work on Howard Chaykin's American Flag series, and he's a phenomenal letterer who's still doing some phenomenal work. So that's the whole team,
Okay. J.A., why don't you hit us up with that 10-cent synopsis? So you got any trick arrows in that bag, or is that the whole point of this series, that there weren't any trick arrows?
There was one trick arrow, actually, but he didn't fire it. So essentially, Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, has relocated from Star City to Seattle, Washington to be with his girlfriend, Dinah Lance, who we all know as Black Canary. Kind of goes through a midlife crisis, because he's 43 or something in the book, and already a grandfather. We'll get to that in the review, I'm sure. Anyway, he goes through this sort of midlife crisis, gives up all of, the superheroing thing. I gotta get back to the fundamentals. No more trick arrows, no more just me and the bow, and be one with the bow and shoot the arrow. And at that time in Seattle, there's two sort of crime sprees that are happening. There's this guy walking around killing prostitutes, and he's the Seattle Slasher. And at the same time, somebody's going around shooting all these old guys with arrows, and that person is known as the Robin Hood Killer. So Green Arrow gets sucked in to investigating both and offers his services to the police, and they're like, we don't need your help. Leave us alone. You weird man.
I don't understand why they didn't arrest him on sight. You are a guy that runs around looking like Robin Hood, yet we have this Robin Hood killer on the loose.
Right.
Yeah. You should be suspect number 1.
All the detectives took a vacation that week.
I never understood that. But anyways, the more interesting story is the Archer, who's killing these old guys, and it turns out that she is the daughter of a Yakuza who was in the United States and in an internment camp in World War II, and she grew up with her sole purpose in life was to avenge the death of her father at the hands of these Americans, and she is one with the bow and one with the arrow, so to speak, and the series sets up sort of a duel between these two longbow hunting people, not unlike a Kurosawa type samurai standoff where they're, my true meaning is to become one with the bow and one with the arrow and shoot true and straight every time, and there's a lot of that involved.
Yes, but they didn't realize, Ollie Queen, you must be this Robin Hood killer because you look like Robin Hood and you're shooting people with arrows. But that's okay. You're in the Justice
I didn't
League,
understand
so
that. Those are the kind of things I didn't understand. I didn't understand why he wasn't suspect number 1, and I didn't get. And maybe I missed this. I'm sure Ethan probably agrees with me. Maybe Black Canary. She went from being a brunette to
a blonde,
long-haired blonde to short-haired brunette again. Was she just wearing a blonde wig? so that they could get funky in bed? If so, that's really funky.
They had previously somewhere along the line established that she wore a wig, that the wig was part of her disguise. In another, because this was post-Crisis, so I believe her character at the time didn't have vocal powers either.
Right, she was depowered in this.
Yes. Yeah. Because what they had tried to do is establish some kind of link between, the fact that there was a Golden Age Black Canary.
Right.
So the Golden Age Black Canary, Dinah Lance, was her mother as of this point, and she was the daughter, but she used the wig to look more like Ma. Like that kind of.
It's kind of similar to what the Watchmen character, Silk Spectre.
Silk Spectre, yeah.
Right. It's where you have the Silk Spectre from the 40s, and then the more recent one. Did the one in the 40s have sonic powers?
No.
None of them did. Like in post-Crisis, they're like, none of these people can yell.
Yeah, but I don't
go down a rabbit hole.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing because they make reference to that being her old costume. Because I don't know if you remember at the time, her costume in the early to mid 80s kind of was like a headband and like a blue and black.
Yes.
Do you remember she had a different costume?
The J.M. DeMatteis Justice League, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, reading this in a vacuum. Just being these 3 issues was the only real actual exposure that I got to Green Arrow. Like, if she wouldn't have put on the getup, I would have no idea who this woman was and why she was so important to the main character.
Yeah. Speaking of you reading this in a vacuum, Ethan, you're coming into this as somebody that hasn't read a lot of Green Arrow. Did you watch some of the Arrowverse? Did you watch any of that?
I watched the commercials when they played during Supernatural. So I knew could piece enough of that show together by just watching 30-second commercials. I mean, come on, it doesn't have that much.
I mean, it wasn't great. I mean, it was often really, really good, but it was often not very good at all. It was, they took lots of liberties with it, but they did do a lot of neat twists on his history. His history is a little bit. Like, he's not Hawkman. Hawkman, what's Hawkman's origin? Who the hell knows? Nobody knows anymore. But Green Arrow's basically been the same thing. He's a socialite Oliver Queen. He gets stranded on an island. He learns archery. He stops pirates on the island. But in this, they do a nice little retcon where they're like, well, that was a lie. That was and it was like 2 weed dealers, which I thought was hilarious. But his history has been kind of consistent.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that it seems like this was a radical departure from Green Arrow. So I was trying to think of, what came before this? Because like I said, I don't know anything about Green Arrow other than, you said, rich socialite and socialist, the very left wing.
Well, he debuted in More Fun Comics in 1941. So More Fun Comics number 73. And he was just an archer hero. That's all he was. And he had a sidekick named Speedy. And then they had the Arrow car and they had all this other stuff. So it was basically Batman and Robin with arrows. He never had a regular series of his own prior to this. He was a backup in a lot of books. He was a member of the Justice League. And then prior to this, the big thing was the Green Arrow, Green Lantern series, where he teams up with Green Lantern and they go around the world and Green Lantern learns to be a little more grounded and he learns about actual human stuff. And that's where the whole idea of Oliver Queen being very liberal and very socialist and everything came through in those.
And that's where Speedy number 2 dies, right? Who have a drug overdose?
Well, he doesn't die. He doesn't die,
but
he gets
a drug overdose.
Yeah, he has a drug habit that they get him through by the end of the issue. And then there was a 4-issue miniseries where he just kind of fought Count Vertigo, and he had the boxing glove arrows and all the trick arrows and all that silliness. But other than that, he really didn't have much of a huge presence. He was popular though; people liked the character. So after Crisis happened, and they were sort of redoing everybody's origins a little bit with Batman Year One, and the new Wonder Woman series that was out, and Man of Steel. They were kind of tweaking everybody's stories to fit the more modern audiences. That's kind of what this served, a reboot of the character, but still maintaining that prior history, which I thought was clever.
What always catches me about this character is that he's immediately likable. He's probably one of the most likable superheroes that I can think of, and you just kind of immediately gravitate towards this guy. I don't know what the charm of the outfit or the charm of the person, or because he's usually the grounded one out of the Justice League, where he's telling these way more powerful people, like Batman's smug, and then he's like, I'm the charming smug. But
Green Arrow's always the first one to be like, what the hell are you people doing? Like he's always that guy. And like during like Identity Crisis, which is really phenomenal, there's a lot of his involvement with getting disenchanted with the whole, and they talk about that in this miniseries too. The whole superheroics thing has lost its luster because they're not dealing with like some guy in a costume trying to rob a bank anymore. And because of the time period this book came out, that was prominent in a lot of things like street crime and the Iran-Contra thing and crack were real. And Mike Grell, I talked to at the Pittsburgh Comic-Con once, and he said that it was hard to write comic books about silly things when the world around you wasn't silly, basically is what he said, but not in so many words, but yeah.
For me, reading Green Arrow, and this is, I think, the second time that I've particularly read these couple issues, I will say it's a little bit confusing. The biggest problem I have with the book sometimes is the fact that it would move from single pages to double page spreads where you had to read across the pages. You know, if you're not used to that, or if you happen to get this digitally and you're reading on some sort of reader or something, it can be kind of jarring because you're going to have to flip your screen like halfway through, or maybe just read the entire thing horizontally, because like otherwise you're going to miss out on something. But I want to kind of piggyback off of what Ethan said about this guy being immediately likable. And I think it's because, like Hawkeye in the Avengers, basically both of these characters are rooted in a very iconic character, Robin Hood. Everyone loves Robin Hood. Robin Hood steals from the rich. He gives to the poor. He's a charming swashbuckler in the middle of the woods. He's very romantic. And so anybody that can kind of tap into that very primal character, I think is going to be like, yeah, he's going to crack jokes. And this is actually an interesting book because you get an Ollie Queen who, when he gets out on the street, he doesn't want to be like that. He actually wants to be like, this is my town. He's a very like quintessential 80s action hero. Like, it's my way or the highway. This is my 44 Magnum, except it's not a 44 Magnum. It's a bow and an arrow, but he still uses it to that effect. He goes up to one thug and like breaks his pinky finger just for snoring too loud.
It's for trying to rob a lady.
Right. I'm making light of that. But what you see here is you see a series in which Mike Grell is kind of darkening the particular universe, trying to put it back to a street level kind of character. Very similar to what you were reading in, say, Punisher at the time, maybe over at Marvel or some of those other street level characters. Moon Knight was very similar to that about that time. That was the Bill Sienkiewicz run.
But yeah, I mean, it's that window of time between like, you know, Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, and the revisionist superhero stuff was. But I love Green Arrow. I started picking this up, you know, I was 14 years old and I was growing up, and I was trying to leave childish things behind me as much as I could, you know, in the beginnings of that kind of stage. And I knew Green Arrow from Justice League cartoons and from like a little, like I had that miniseries and things like that. And he was always silly and fun and whatever. But then I had also read John Sable Freelance that Mike Grell was doing. And at the time, it was very different. It was very different for a mainstream superhero character to be brought down to that kind of thing. And it actually was quite popular. Like, it ran, like I said, it ran for 80 issues. But by the time those 80 issues were winding down, times have changed. And like, as of literally issue 81, it was back to being a superhero book again. Like, issue 80 was the last issue. And the description of the issue is Green Arrow's been framed for murder, but only he can track down the CIA killers who set him up. That was the plot for issue 80. Issue 81 is Green Arrow gets in the middle of a fight between Nuklon and Shrapnel. Like, it's literally superheroes all over again. Like, the minute that Grell is gone, they turn it to superheroes for the rest of the run.
Yeah, but he did some other interesting things in this particular run too. Speaking of that, he set this chronologically where he was aging in real time. Like it was like almost every issue was like a month, so he would have birthdays. Like it wasn't that like he had the famous birthday issues where he's like, oh, now I'm 45 or I'm 46. And so that was neat to have a character age in real time on this particular book. But
that's what initially drew me to this book and why I suggested it, because like I had this terrible job back in like the mid 2000s, and I was working for a bank trying to collect money from people during the recession.
I was a loan collector for 15 years. My brother, we have been through it.
That's it. So you can realize the pain that I'm going through when I say this. Yeah. But so I would just read these Wikipedias of superheroes, and then I stumbled upon Green Arrow, and I saw this long run of this. They depowered him, and he went to the streets and was, like you said, Andy, was doing chronological age, and I was like, I have been thinking about this and dreaming about this book for probably like 15 years now. So actually finally getting to read it has been like almost, I want to say, maybe a dream come true. Maybe that's a little bit pie in the sky, but it's kind of like, one of those kismet moments for me. So
very cool.
I highly suggest you carry on with the series afterwards. There's even a 2-issue thing where he teams up with Travis Morgan. He teams up with Warlord, and there was always jokes about how Warlord is basically just Oliver Queen with white hair. It's like the design. They actually make reference to that, to how much alike they look, and they make a joke about it and stuff. But it's real fun, and that's somewhere in like the 20s or whatever. So it's a really great series.
So like, J.A., what did you think of the book?
I mean, it's very gritty. It's a very product of its time period. It reminded me actually a lot of the Frank Miller Batman, where Oliver does show up for a cameo without an arm.
He's got the best line in that. Yeah, he's got the best line in that book too. Hi-yo, goddamn silver.
See, because he's immediately likable. That's
yeah.
And the cops come after him, and he's like, "Get away from me, you damn fascists!" In the continuing series, is the same colorist on the book? Because I loved her coloring in this.
Yes.
I don't know if she was using a colored pencil for a lot of it, but it was just very subdued and wonderful.
I don't know. I think it was Dick Giordano. No, he did inks or something. Frank McLaughlin did some colors. I don't think so. I don't think she did.
So did the aesthetic change at all? The art aesthetic in the series? Because that was what really drew me to this. Not just the story itself, but the aesthetic of the art and the coloring. And I mean, it just all felt 80s to me. It felt very much like The Watchmen.
Yeah, it did. I mean,
or Valiant, even early Valiant stuff.
Yeah. It was a little bit more mainstream as far as panel layout and things like that are concerned, and coloring and things like that. So it wasn't, and I just think that was because of printing.
We got a lot of great conversation here on this particular book, but we got to get to ratings and recommendations. So stay tuned for more of The Last Comic Shop right after these commercial breaks. Stay tuned.
What if you could live with your favorite fictional characters and have a place to connect with the best nerdy neighbors and creators out there? Join us on your friendly neighborhood comic show. Every week, we keep hope, give help, and share comics with all. With games, interviews, and more, this isn't your average talk show. It's a living neighborhood. We are honored to be your CBC Comic Book Community Award-nominated nerdy neighborhood. So what are you waiting for? Come join the fun and join the neighborhood. It's your friendly neighborhood comic show every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube.
Do you like comic books? Do you like comic book movies and TV shows? How about movie and TV reviews? If I just described you, good news! You can get all of the movie and TV reviews you're looking for with a good dose of witty banter and fun thrown into the mix by checking out Paperweight Entertainment. Join Derek and Ian every Friday for TV reviews on the Paperweight Entertainment podcast, and join Ian and Colonel Bob every Wednesday for the Silver Screen Scoundrel movie reviews. Find out more information about both shows at paperweightentertainment.com.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for our ratings. Are we going to hit a bullseye with Green Arrow Longbow Hunters? We'll see. J.A., what is our 1 out of 4 scale for this week?
Well, 1 out of 4 arrows. Straight and narrow.
There you go. You're going to get the tip or the shaft?
Oh, my.
So 1 out of 4 arrows. We'll kick it over to our newbie for Green Arrow. That'd be Ethan. Did you enjoy this? Did you enjoy this more than 10 Nights of the Beast? First off,
yes, I will say that I did enjoy this more than 10 Nights of the Beast. I wish that this was a Batman book because he was very Batman in tone, and when you read Batman, you already kind of go into it knowing some of the characters. Like if Batman were to interact with any police, it would be Commissioner Gordon and not some random jabroni on the Seattle PD that doubts him anyways. And you know his many love interests. You wouldn't know Diana / Black Canary, and hope that she puts on the outfit so you can actually recognize who the hell this person is. Plus, I didn't pick up at all about that him being on an island was part of his origin story. I just thought it was some random aside about how he would learn how to shoot the arrow, because he didn't look like he aged. He wasn't like younger in that. It was almost like Green Arrow in his 40s, doing the whole arrow thing.
Oh, yeah, he was supposed to be super young. He was supposed to be in his 20s or something.
But I didn't pick up on that at all either. So, and there were times, there is a lot of wanton violence against women in this book, like a lot. And I know the Robin Hood Hunter is a woman, so it's kind of like she gets hers in the end, but you have to sit through a lot. If you're reading this in 2023, it's pretty uncomfortable at times, especially what they do to Black Canary, like when she's just like undressed and bleeding everywhere, and it's just like, holy crap, like what am I reading? But I am just, like I said, I'm just so glad that I was able to read this and actually put to bed this moment of kismet for me, for that literally thinking about for 15 years. And so actually seeing it on paper and being like, holy crap, this is what I'm actually reading right now is a surreal moment that I don't think I can put into words. So arrows, I'm going to go 3 arrows because I was glad that I was able to read this and kind of close the book on that chapter of a 15-year journey that I've been on.
All right. We're going to go to J.A. Scott next. J.A., how many arrows you giving it?
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3.5. So I guess that's 3 arrows and 1 broken arrow. I think if you need that one Green Arrow comic because you want to have one Green Arrow comic and it's the only one you're ever going to buy in your life, this is the one. This is the story to get. It might not jive with the whole superhero genre Green Arrow stuff that came before or came after, as Mikey alluded to, but in terms of what it says about him, about the character, how well it's produced, how well it's drawn and written, and the story itself, it's great. I knock it back slightly because it does feel a little dated. It feels a little bit a product of the 80s. I think if you're younger, you're going to struggle to relate to some of the issues because they are very 1980s specific. Iran-Contra, crack cocaine. I mean, some of the, it's if you're just talking drugs or something, maybe that makes more sense. But some of it does feel like it's like you're watching one of those old Canon Hollywood movies. You see the Canon logo come up, you're in for
Jackson.
Yeah,
you're in for something.
Action Jackson movie. Okay. All right, Mikey, you're up. How many arrows you giving it?
I would say a 3.5. For me personally, it at the time that I first read it, it hit at exactly the right point. And it was unlike really anything I had read before as far as superhero comics are concerned, other than like Dark Knight Returns. And even that was a superhero book when you get to it. Some of the things that you just mentioned, like the violence against Black Canary, what's really interesting about it is that it carries over into the regular series. Like she ends up going to therapy and she's having intimacy issues with him for a couple of issues, and they address that. And the whole PTSD thing from the trauma that she suffered from that actually plays a part. And the random cop ends up basically becoming, his like Commissioner Gordon, like his contact for things, and they come to a tentative working relationship and things like that. But and there's a lot of really good runs of Green Arrow. Like this led to a run that ran 80 issues for Michael Grell, and then ran to 132 and ended with like Oliver died in a plane explosion, but then somehow comes back to life in Kevin Smith's run, which is actually quite good. Like, Kevin Smith's hit or miss with me, but his Green Arrow is real cool, and that brings him back to the superhero, so it loops back around again, and it's really worth it. So he's gone through lots of ups and downs and fluctuations, but if you had to read something that is a great time capsule for that time period, this is it. And it is the only reason that I chop off a little bit is because it took me a couple of times reading it when I was younger to figure out that I was reading some of those pages incorrectly. In the old days, they would, if it was a regular comic, they'd put an arrow telling you which direction to actually read the panels in. So I don't know. That's a small gripe, but yeah.
Well, going last, this is a book of contradictions for me. There's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons for this particular book and this particular series for me. I will say this, on the pro side, this is an amazing Green Arrow series for no other reason than it does the character justice in terms of what the character should be. Like, I'm sorry, Green Arrow has no business being on the Justice League. Just like Hawkeye has no business being on the Avengers. Like, a guy with a bow and arrow fighting against, like, cosmic level threats that Superman has to trade punches with. No. He's a street level character. So, from the fact that, like, they took him out of that superhero world and put him in a world of espionage and spies and drug dealers, and again, what we consider street level. This is the kind of environment that a character like Green Arrow deserves to live in. And when he's in that kind of environment, he's like, an apex predator. He's an alpha hunter. He's what they talk about in this, because he can bring all of those skills that he's learned by fighting, Darkseid, and he's just fighting a bunch of crooks. So, like, from that perspective, you're never going to hear me say anything bad about this particular series, because for once they did an Archer character justice. On the con side, though, this plot is confusing as hell. Like, it really is. Like, the first issue with, like, this slasher and just how that happens to randomly Yakuza World War II group from the internment camps or whatever. Because, like,
he wasn't a member of that.
No, he was.
No, the tunnel rat. She just saw him.
She just shot him.
She did.
Then why did she shoot him? See,
because she was chasing a woman.
So that's
I thought she was only there to get revenge. Then why is she, like, taking her off the prize to go fight this?
She also got the person she was after too.
Yes.
Like it was an opportunity. It was how she pointed out that unlike Oliver, she could take life quite easily.
I mean, once I figured out the tunnel rat had nothing to do with the regular story, I just kind of blocked that whole thing out.
The thing is, on the other pro side, though, those are two good stories. Like, they're two good separate stories, but, like, it's confusing. And to your point,
they explain the whole thing at the end.
I get it, but I won't lie. After the first time I read it, which was like about 10 years ago, I actually immediately looked up the Wikipedia article because I'm like, I have to figure out what the heck happened. Mm-hmm. So, like, if I have to do that, it's a 2.75. I actually want to read more from here because I feel like Grell was on to something, and maybe he was working out the kinks these first three issues. Maybe he was, and maybe there's awesome stuff to come, which is cool. I'll read that, but, like, just on its own, I'm like, no, it's a 2.75. Sorry, Mikey.
Yeah.
Any case, it's now time for something that hopefully is a 4 across the boards for everybody, and that is our recommendations. Because we're recommending these things. So, like, if we happen to like them, maybe you will. Go make sure that you're going out to your local comic book shop and picking up Longbow Hunters so you can decide for yourself whether you like it or you don't like it. But also, check out some of these books. So we're going to go ahead and start off with J.A. Scott. So, J.A., what is your recommendation this week?
I am recommending the original Chris Claremont, Frank Miller Wolverine limited series. Ran also product of the 80s. I think it came out in like 82, somewhere there. But Wolverine goes to Japan because he finds out that his love has suddenly become married. And he's like, what's up with that? I thought I was going to get to marry her. And then her dad doesn't like him, tries to kill him. The Hand is there. Yukio turns out to be this assassin who wants to kill him and then bed him at the same time because, it's Wolverine. And it's a great story. It was I think the first or the second time Marvel put out a limited series. At that point, they hadn't done it a lot. Great Chris Claremont writing, great Frank Miller art. First issue had an iconic Wolverine with the claws up, and he's saying, "Come here." It was loosely adapted into the movie The Wolverine, but very loosely. That movie loses a lot of the nuance that plays out in the story, because even when Mariko's married, he's like, "But you love me." She goes, "Yes, I love you, but I have to be with him because it's honor and family and this and that." And so it reminded me a lot of Shadow's role in the Green Arrow book we just read.
Very cool. All right, Ethan, you're up. What's your recommendation?
Well, J.A. said earlier, if you're going to read one Green Arrow and just put the book down and put it back on your shelf and be like, I've read some Green Arrow, you're going to do the same with Batman. I don't know why you would, because Batman's phenomenal, and there's a lot of great Batman, right? Anybody has ever written Batman. You can read Dark Knight Returns. Some people would say that it's kind of a Batman book, but it's, set in an altered timeline. You don't really get the Batman essential. Year one, you see him struggle as a beginner, and nobody wants to read that. I mean, people want to read that. But if you want to read Batman, be Batman. Read Batman Hush. Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee. It's just phenomenal, man. The artwork's so good. The story's great. The Batman greatest hits, and that's what you want when you read Batman. So.
Yeah, it's like Batman and Catwoman hook up, and it's got all the rogues gallery all drawn really nicely. Superman shows up for an issue, and Batman has to fight him. Honestly, the whole storyline with Hush is an afterthought to just being let's just wheel out everything that was cool about Batman in case this is the only time you're ever going to read it, right, Mikey?
Right.
Yes.
This is right up your alley too, Ethan, because you can also get Hush in Batman Noir, and it's just black and white.
Yes.
Black and white, yeah.
Now we're talking, man. Love me some black and white, baby.
All right, Mikey, what's your recommendation?
I flip-flopped a lot on this. Originally, I said I was going to do Animal Man because that's a great. Grant Morrison's Animal Man is a great run. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend John Sable Freelance, which is the book that Mike Grell was doing prior to this. It is from First Comics, and it ran for 56 issues starting in 1983. And it is the story of a game warden named John Sable, whose family was brutally murdered, and he becomes a bounty hunter and secret agent who also has a alter ego that writes children's books. And it's a lot of these same kind of similar sort of stories. And Grell wrote it all the way to the end of 56 and did the artwork for the first maybe 25 or something issues, and then other people kind of came in and took over. It's been a while, but it ran 56 issues, and then there were a few miniseries, and there was another sort of unrelated series called Sable, and a short-lived television series as well that I have on bootleg DVD. Yeah. So it's a really good book. It's a favorite of mine. That came around about the same time as American Flag and stuff like that. It was the early to mid 80s was a really, really good time for comics. It was really phenomenal.
I was going to say too, and don't let Mikey fool you. He just recommended a great book, but he also is recommending that you read the whole 80-issue run of Green Arrow, right?
I am.
Yes.
I am as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really good. And if you're into superheroes and stuff, keep going after that, because Jim Aparo does the artwork for a big chunk of them, and everybody loves Jim Aparo, and it just gets very superhero-y.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up recommendations with another street-level set of heroes, but it wouldn't be the kind of heroes that maybe you would think would show up in a comic book. Would it be some leftist radical Muppets? You're absolutely right. This is a series that came out at the tail end of 2022 into 2023. It was called Survival Street. It was out of Dark Horse Comics. It was written by James Asmus and Jim Festante, and with art by Adelaide Kusainoff. And boy, I can sign off on this particular series for sure. It is really wonderful. Basically, thinly veiled Sesame Street characters. So you have, like, instead of Bert, there's somebody named Birdie. Instead of a giant Big Bird, there's a giant hippo. There's a guy that lives in a cardboard box instead of a trash can. There's a Grover type character who isn't like Super Grover. He's like Captain Fair Play or something. There's even an Elmo character called Milo, who the Grover character is saving a bullet for, which I thought was hilarious. Because we all know that Grover should hate Elmo because he stole all of his credit. All of a sudden, nobody likes Grover anymore. But it's a series about if corporations became people, like, and they were able to hold offices and, you know, they ran the presidency, and they just run the country into the ground, like all the things that you're thinking of, and become like a right-wing militant dictatorship. These puppets, because in this world, puppets are like sentient beings. They're not just puppets. They decide to become like freedom fighters and go save kids that are forced to go fight forest fires. Over 4 issues, it's really deep. It's really heavy, pulling from the headlines nowadays, so you can kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable. But it works, and you should read it for no other reason than it's provocative. And if there's anything that's good about comic books, it's sometimes making you think and getting out of your side of your comfort zone. So for me, seeing a Grover character shoot a robot made of Charlton Heston in the face was about as provocative as I get on this show. So read Survival Street.
It sounds wonderful. It reminds me of, you ever read Brat Pack?
No.
You
but
should
I've
read
heard about
Brat Pack. Oh, Brat Pack is awesome.
There's another recommendation for you.
Yeah, multiple recommendations tonight.
So that's all the time we had for the Last Comic Shop this week. Make sure that you're tuning in every single week by going out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. It's a terrific place where you can find all kinds of stuff, like past episodes, which they're evergreen, so you can check them out and make sure that you listen to a bunch of them, especially lots of episodes featuring Chad, who will be on next week's episode. He's just taking the week off, and so we're all waiting for the return of our Ed McMahon to our Tonight Show. So hope that you tune in, and make sure that if you're tuning in regularly and buying any of these comics, that you have places to put them. Go out to bcwsupplies.com, where you can get bags and boards and boxes and all kinds of bric-a-brac that you can put your comic books in. And if you use the promo code LCSPOD, you can get 10% off of your order. And that, my friends, is a bullseye every time. I don't have to say anything else about that.
Yes. And I'll try to do the Chad thing. Be sure to head to your local comic shops, where you too can find all the stuff that we recommended tonight that I did not write down, but you can rewind it because it's a podcast. He's so much better at this, man. He's so much better.
Yeah, and you can also find us on all of our socials, Twitter, Instagram. And please, for the love of God, if you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star rating. Please retweet it. Get the word out. Last Comic Shop is the podcast that you need for all of your comic book needs.
That's right.
We're not letting anybody else get out from under that tent. They're all coming in.
That's right. That's right.
Man, this is great.
Yes.
It's doing my job for me.
If you need links to any of that stuff, it's all on the home base. That's www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. We also have links to our merch store. We began it for St. Patty's Day, but it might just become a permanent fixture on the store. The wonderful Last Comic Shop Artist Edition t-shirt by Mr. Mikey Wood. You can get it in a beautiful print. I've seen that posted online. So
And you, no, don't, no, myself and you.
I did a bit of coloring.
Every single episode, like it's like almost a drinking game at this point. Is J.A. going to talk about the colors? Is he going to talk about the colors? Take 3 shots every single time. And you did the colors for Mikey Wood's artwork. Come on, right. Don't sell yourself short.
My that drawing was basically shivering and naked until you got to it.
And in case I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson, I was joined by J.A. Scott, as well as Mikey Wood and Ethan Larson. Until next week, stay safe. Stay on point.
Ooh, arrow.
And remember to try not to spell park backwards. Because it's a trap.
You gotta stop with
think
these
about
bad.
that.
You gotta
Think
stop with
about
these
it.
bad.
That's so good.
That was troublesome.
The Last Comic Shop was a 2023 Black Angus production.